Hey, welcome back to TradeBlocked, brought to you by Club Fantasy FFL. Good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday. I am your host, Dustin Lundt. You can find me at FFDustyDog. Got to introduce my co-hosts. We've got Joel at the Joel Wirth. Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
I'm on mute. I'm doing well. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, same. And then also to my right, we've got Hoov at the HoovTube. Hoov, how are you doing this evening?
I'm feeling good. I've been on the way home, driving, listening to some Celine Dion. I'll be like, I drove all night to get to you. That's how I felt coming to this podcast, getting ready, getting turned up. So you know it's going to be a good show when you listen to the Queen before. How you doing?
True story.
True story. Do you believe in life after love? Yeah. Let's go. This is going to be we could do a whole podcast just like singing Celine, ranking Celine songs, but we aren't going to do that. We're going to talk DJ Moore today, folks.
That's right. For those of you that have not joined us before, we are all trades all the time. And tonight, yes, as Hoov he just straight out said, we are talking all about DJ Moore tonight. What's his current value? Some of the trades we've seen going down for him, all the good stuff. I'm sure there will be some heated arguments. But before we do that, we've got just a little bit of housekeeping from last week. We got a listener follow-up question that we want to make sure we touch upon here. So this is from Astro Dabber on the Twitter. This is 10-team Superflex PPR 1.5 tight end premium. And their question is, what would you need on top of Travis Kelce to trade away Kyle Pitts? And I know this is a very heated conversation last week, but let's try to keep it civil, gentlemen, and keep it concise. So Joel, hit us first.
Yeah, so Astro Dabber hit me up in the DMs and appreciate him checking out the show. Appreciate the question as always. And feel free to hit any if you guys have questions like after the show. If you don't get a minute in time, if you watch the show on replay, feel free to hit us up in the DMs, YouTube, Sleeper, whatever, Twitter. We're happy to take them. So he brought this up. It's a 10-team Superflex, half-point tight end premium, full PPR for receptions. And he said, what would you get on top of Travis Kelce to trade away Kyle Pitts? Like you said, I said you would need probably the equivalent of either a kind of low-end starter, flex-worthy starter, or kind of an early second worth of value on top of Travis Kelce. I would prefer Kelce if I'm a contending team and trying to win, especially in a 10-team. I would prefer Kelce straight up, but the value is on Kyle Pitts. The dynasty value is on the Kyle Pitts side. So I would want something on top of Kelce just because, I think the market is not sure of Kelce's long-term viability. I would want a little bit extra on top of Kelce to make that deal. But if I can get, like I said, a low-end flex starter or a high second, I'm good making that trade.
We were doing so good. And then he said that Pitts is valued higher than Kelce in Dynasty. And I just that's not true. I just can't see it. Even at his age, I just can't see that. It's to me, I have a follow-up question for him. So we can answer. I want to hear your follow-up question next week or hear your answer to this question next week. What side are you targeting? Like if you have Kelce, why are you going after Pitts?
He was being offered Kelce. He was offered Kelce and a third for Pitts.
Well, to me, I think honestly, I'd rather have Kelce still in that trade, just because like you're seeing tight ends come out of as rookies and produce, not necessarily like all the time right away, but there's always a good class coming in. There's always another person that you can kind of replace Travis Kelce with. So to me, it would almost be like a lateral move, but we all know how I am on Kyle Pitts. So it's not even a lateral move in my opinion. So to me, you probably need a little bit more. I'd probably want a first on top of it confidently with Pitts, and then right out the storm with Kelce. That's how high I am, especially in a tight end premium. Like, yeah, tight end premium is so great with Kyle Pitts. it's also a tight end premium with Travis frickin' Kelce too. So like, that's really hard to turn away from Kelce in a tight end premium. Sure, the age with Kyle Pitts is great, but what's the value difference between like a Kyle Pitts and a Sam Laporta if you're targeting a young tight end, or a Trey McBride or a Jake Ferguson, like we were talking about last week. So I guess I would just be against it, but to me, it's at least a first difference.
So he would be getting Kelce, just to be clear. He's giving away Pitts, getting Kelce.
Yeah, then I'm fine with that. Especially if he's getting a third on top of it, that just seems like you're getting way too much of a deal. So I would do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I lean a little bit more on Joel's side here. I think I would want something more than a third on top of Kelce, whether he said like it's kind of a player in that late second range, or a kind of a mid to late round second too. Because I do like Kelce for this year for sure, probably next year as well. Let's be honest. And especially if we're in Dynasty, we're playing in a 2 to 3 year window. Kelce should be producing without any issues, especially over Kyle Pitts. As much as I'm becoming a little bit more bullish on Kyle Pitts, I'd still much rather have Kelce here in the short term.
That's just that's such a hard thing to look at for me, because someone like Travis Kelce is like someone like Tyreek Hill as a wide receiver, and you're looking at someone like Kyle Pitts that, yes, he has opportunity this year. We addressed that, and to each their own, and whether you think that he fills into that potential this season is up to you. But it's almost like, are you going to give up if it was a wide receiver, would you give up Tyreek Hill for someone that boomed 2 years ago? That's such a hard thing, if you're getting Kyle Pitts. So I'm all Travis Kelce on this one. So that's where we're at. But we can't talk about Travis Kelce all day. We got to talk about DJ Moore, baby. DJ Moore.
That is right. Thank you for keeping us on track here, Hoov. Someone's got to keep the train on the tracks here. So DJ Moore right now, and we are going to be, for those of you that have been following us here since the beginning, all of the 4 weeks we've been going here, we had been going off of Keep Trade Cut, but we decided we should really give our sponsor the proper due that they deserve here. So we have been doing Keep Trade Cut, and it's nothing against them at all. They're great organization there, but we got to support our sponsor here. So we're going to be pulling all of our values from Dynasty Nerds. So what is his value currently right now off of Dynasty Nerds?
Well, Dynasty Nerds currently ranks him at wide receiver 18, which is only a one position difference between sleepers. So right now it seems like the big brain analysts amongst us are all kind of seeing it pretty clearly with DJ Moore. Whether or not that he fills that potential or doesn't hit, everyone's kind of seeing him around the same range.
Mm-hmm. And Joel, do you think that's fair value for DJ Moore, or are you feeling undervalued, overvalued at this point in his career with this upgraded offense that we're seeing here in Chicago? Tell me all about it.
I think that's fair value. I think he's in a tier of guys that I like but don't love. So yeah, I think that's good. If you look at the guys around him, you're looking at Flowers, Metcalf, Pittman, Higgins, Pickens. I mean, JSN's probably a little bit in that discussion as well. I don't know that there's anybody in there I would clearly rather have over DJ Moore. But there's no one I would say I'm super convicted that I would much rather have more than Pickens. Let's say that. I'd rather have more than Higgins. I would take DJ Moore over JSN. So there's a few guys in there I would clearly rather have DJ Moore than, but I don't know if there's anybody I would much rather have than DJ Moore. So I think that's probably appropriate.
Mm-hmm. And what say you, Hoov? Do you agree with Joel? Or are we going to have another fight on our hands?
No, it's not going to be as heated as tonight. I feel like maybe once we start getting into who we'd rather have, once we get into who he's ranked higher than, or lower than, that might be more of a discussion. But right now, like if you guys want to go ahead, a part of the series here at Club Fantasy, I talked about the Chicago Bears offense and wrote about DJ Moore as well as Odunze, and we'll talk about that a lot tonight as well on what his potential is, and I'm sure it'll creep out multiple times throughout it. But DJ Moore is someone that could once again continuously like look down on, like people are underestimating him, sleeping on him always. And depending on what you feel about Justin Fields, whether he was a starting quarterback or not, once he got someone decent as a quarterback, he became the wide receiver 6 in both half PPR and full PPR leagues. So we all know that Caleb Williams is hands down better than Justin Fields. Whatever you want to think about Justin Fields, he's hands down better than Justin Fields is. We have to also anticipate that, yes, Odunze is there. Yes, Keenan Allen's there. But DJ Moore is still an absolute dog, and he is going to eat. So the value is pretty appropriate. I've seen myself taking DJ Moore a little higher than this. And at the same time, with the price range, I could also see myself targeting a few other players that might be a little higher on this year around this price range too. So it kind of just depends on either the trade or how the draft is falling to me, whether I'm drafting DJ Moore or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like this is pretty appropriate value as well. I think it reflects the uncertainty in this offense, knowing that they brought in Keenan Allen, they drafted Odunze, they have Swift coming out of the backfield. I mean, there's a lot of weapons and a lot of potential mouths to feed in this offense. Obviously, setting Caleb Williams up for success early on, which you kind of wish that you would have liked to see with Justin Fields, but that's a different discussion. So yeah, I do think he is appropriately valued here.
Because the important thing for the viewers is a lot of people are going to be like, yes, DJ Moore, like he won people a lot of leagues last year, and now he's being drafted at his ceiling in a sense. But where he became most valuable to win those leagues was as a wide receiver 2 in most people's like builds, is that you're probably targeting like a high-end top 10 solid wide receiver, and then you're going after someone like DJ Moore as your wide receiver 2. And I feel like that's going to win people a lot of leagues with that kind of build. But DJ Moore as your wide receiver 1, even though like there is going to be weeks that he pops off, drafting him as a wide receiver 1 is just going to be really tough ask for me personally this year too.
Mm-hmm. So who are some of the players that are going above DJ Moore currently?
Well, currently above, we have at wide receiver 13, Chris Olave. At wide receiver 14, we have his teammate Odunze. Atlanta Falcon, Drake London at wide receiver 15. Michael Pittman at wide receiver 16. And the man that recently just requested a trade, Brandon Ayuk at wide receiver 17. So Olave, Odunze, London, Pittman, Ayuk. Is there anybody out of these 5 that you could see yourself drafting DJ Moore over?
Joel, hit us.
Pittman's the only one out of that list that I would consider Moore over. I would take the rest of those pretty easily over Moore.
Dustin, yeah. I might go a little longer on this one, so you should put yours in. You should put yours in.
I would probably draft Moore over probably Pittman, Ayuk, and Odunze. I'm a little surprised his teammates going above him. I guess for Dynasty it makes sense just with Dynasty. The age, but that's what I'd be comfortable doing. Now,
so
the floor is yours.
Real quick. Let me throw
I...
this at you, Dustin. Odunze was going around 106 in the draft this year. Would you have traded DJ Moore for the 106 or gone the other? Would you have traded the 106 for DJ Moore?
No, that's fair. That's fair. I concede the point. No, that is a very fair point. No, I wouldn't trade a mid first, late first, sure.
Yeah.
But a mid or early, no, absolutely not.
Now, for my answer, I want to put this in 2 parts for our audience. that dynasty versus redraft is very, very important for this tier alone on who I'm targeting IU, or whether I'm targeting these players or whether I'm targeting DJ Moore. Obviously, dynasty, you're probably going to have to lean Rome Odunze, knowing the connection between Caleb Williams. I'm higher on Michael Pittman this season than DJ Moore, even though I feel like they're very, very similar and they could put out the same kind of production. Same thing with Chris Olave. I think that DJ Moore and Chris Olave are going to be very, very slim in their production this year alone. But obviously, Chris Olave has the age on him, and you could hold on to DJ Moore in Dynasty and then wait one more season and then flip him. But Chris Olave right here is like as an obvious get. Rome Odunze is an obvious get. Drake London is an obvious get. And Brandon Ayuk, whether you want to believe he's valuable most on the Niners, whether you think that he could be more valuable on another team with like less competition from Debo and the rest of the cast, that's up to you. But Brandon Ayuk is continuously almost undervalued with how productive he is. And I think that right now it'd be hard for me to take anyone other than Michael Pittman. So I would take all four other than Michael Pittman over DJ Moore. So I'd probably rank him more at like wide receiver 17 in this sense, and then drop Michael Pittman down one more.
All right. So in a similar range though. It's not like
it's very close.
Sounds higher, but yeah. What about the players going just after this here, below him in ADP?
All right. So to me, it seems like a big jump right here between players, like between the Ayuks in this tier. But you got Nico Collins at wide receiver 19, my boy, Jackson Smith-Njigba at wide receiver 20, T. Higgins at wide receiver 21, Xavier Worthy at wide receiver 22, and DK Metcalf at wide receiver 23. That Worthy pick is insane. The fact that he's already over DK Metcalf in this tier. Yes, I'm huge on the Seahawks, and Jackson Smith-Njigba and DK Metcalf are probably going to go off. But the fact that Worthy has already creeped his way up over DK Metcalf to me is insane, and he hasn't even played a snap in the NFL.
Yeah, that is the most surprising name on this list of players by far. Joel, how do you feel about this list, and would you be drafting DJ Moore above all of these players?
I'm going to agree with Hoov. I don't think Worthy belongs on this list. If we do the same exercise that we just did, like Worthy was going as a late first in like, right after the draft, he was kind of going mid first. But I think that enthusiasm has been tempered, especially with him missing some of the offseason workouts and stuff with the hamstring injury. So I think there's some legitimate concern for him now. So had a few drafts over the weekend. His position has dropped kind of to a late first. So yeah, I don't think he belongs in that category. I would pretty easily take Nico Collins over DJ Moore. I think he probably belongs in the, with the Olaves and IU group. I think he's shown enough. I think he was pretty dominant last year. I think he's shown enough that he should be kind of in that group. He's younger than DJ Moore. So yeah, he's the only one that I would clearly take ahead of DJ Moore out of the other ones that who've noted.
For me, I think the only person right now, I did actually draft DK Metcalf over DJ Moore in one of the builds. And was it halfway because I have way too many shares of DJ Moore at this point? And if I'm wrong about it, I gotta, put all my eggs in different baskets, partially. But a lot of it is it's almost like that they're a wide receiver one in a solid offense. And for me, like the Seahawks offense, even though I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to be great, it's really hard, as a wide receiver 3 at these points in their career. I'm not the biggest guy on Keenan Allen by any means, but if you're going to compare him to where he's at late in his career versus Tyler Lockett, I think obviously you have to give Keenan Allen that nudge. And so that kind of opens up DK Metcalf to that territory in redraft leagues. But in Dynasty alone, I frankly am surprised Jackson Smith-Njigba is this close. I really am. Just because some of the trades that we're going to discuss later are suggesting otherwise, that he's a little bit farther off than that. So I'm a little surprised in that. Dynasty, I guess I would still take DJ Moore over most of these guys.
I think that's a really good point, what you brought up with Metcalf and the diversifying, because they're of a similar enough age and similar enough production profile that if you have significantly more shares of one than the other, you probably should be kind of splitting that up, and they probably should be closer to each other, just to kind of leverage them off each other, and just so you're not overexposed to one, because injuries happen. So especially neither one of them is 22 anymore. So yeah, I think that's a good point, that you probably should be kind of splitting your exposures up a little bit.
I like this side of you, man. You're being a little sweetheart tonight. Like, we're just getting along. We're friends again. This is great, man. We're talking. It's a good night.
We had to have a little reconciliation after last week.
Last 2 weeks, the last 3 weeks. It's been a rough start. It's been a rough start, folks. But so that was with our partners at Dynasty Nerds. They obviously rank things a little bit differently than our friends over at Sleeper. So let's run through it a little quickly. For Sleeper's top 5 above DJ Moore currently. So they have Jaylen Waddle, and this is a little different than Dynasty ranks as well too. So Jaylen Waddle at wide receiver 14, Devontae Smith at wide receiver 15, Michael Pittman at wide receiver 16, Rome Odunze at wide receiver 17, and Nico Collins at wide receiver 18, like Joel alluded to. So, Dustin, let's start with you. Is there anyone in this tier on Sleeper that you think that you would take DJ Moore over?
Probably not. I mean, I'd probably take all of them over DJ Moore. I don't understand why Waddle is wide receiver 4. I guess I get it, but I'm a little bit higher on him than most, I think. But yeah, I think all these are young, upcoming wide receivers that have, for the most part, have shown something, except for Odunze here. So you're getting the age, you're getting those years back. I can't see taking DJ Moore ahead of any of these players. God, my tongue doesn't want to work tonight.
I almost fell into that Waddle trap too, but we also need to realize, like, he is still a dynasty asset. Like, to me, how you should be feeling about Jaylen Waddle is like not as bad as how you should feel about Kyle Pitts, but like, there's always hope. He's still young. It could be the year. It could be the year that Tyreek Hill just falls off until we see it. Like, I understand why he's ranked at this point. I almost fell into that trap. Like, why is Jaylen Waddle ranked above these guys? But he is still viewed as a dynasty asset in that sense. So, Joel?
I agree. I would have Waddle a tier ahead of DJ Moore. I think he's an easy. I would easily take Waddle ahead of Moore. I would probably need a pretty good amount to make a swap between the two of them. Like you said, just because he's younger, he's got the contingent value with Waddle is so high. Like, if anything happens to Tyreek, if there's an ankle injury, a hamstring injury, like we saw at the end of the year last year, like, Waddle becomes basically a top 7, top 8 receiver. He basically switches places with Tyreek. So, I would easily take Waddle over DJ Moore.
You just gave me an idea about trying to swap DJ Moore for Jaylen Waddle. So I might be coming back next week with a Jaylen Waddle DJ Moore trade, because that just kicked off an idea. So yeah, in Dynasty, obviously, going off the point, Jaylen Waddle I'd probably have above. I think that, like, obviously I'd have Rome Odunze in Dynasty above him. Redraft, I'd have Michael Pittman a little above, but close. And Devontae Smith, I think that he's someone that I definitely would take DJ Moore over, regardless of him being a dynasty asset. We know how Wonder Boy is, and now that Kellen Moore is in Philly, it's hard to anticipate more than one wide receiver really popping off. Devontae Smith's extremely talented, and that could be proven wrong very quickly. And he's that talented that I wouldn't be surprised if he overproduces, that he can't he can break the Kellen Moore curse that like more than one wide receiver is extremely relevant. Like we saw with CeeDee Lamb and Keenan Allen, like there's normally one guy. So I could be wrong about Devonta Smith for sure, but this offense, I want to see it before I invest in him over DJ, just because like I know what I'm going to get out of DJ. I know what I'm going to get out of this offense with Caleb Williams. It's definitely going to be an improvement based off of everything that we've seen and heard. So Devonta, I'm a little more skeptical on. Nico, obviously the youth has a lot to do with it, but he's almost like in the same exact role as DJ Moore, but younger. He's like the true wide receiver one on a offense, on a young offense that there are multiple weapons, but when you in reality, when you look at what he does for the offense, he's probably the guy. So, yeah, I think that I would in Dynasty as well take Nico Collins over DJ Moore.
Okay. And who, before we go for the guys ranked right below in the next tier down here, question in the chat from Jamie. Where would you rank Waddle if Hill wasn't on the team currently?
Definitely 10. Definitely top 10. You know what that offense wants to do, and it doesn't matter because Jaylen Waddle can still be just as good as Tyreek Hill. And no shade toward Tyreek Hill. It's more of a compliment to Jaylen Waddle and what I truly believe he can do in the NFL once he gets unleashed. So, yeah, he would definitely be right next to like Garrett Wilson, Drake London for sure.
Joel?
Yeah, I think I alluded to this earlier. I think you look at the top tier of dynasty receivers right now. It's Jefferson, Chase, Lamb, Amon-Ra, AJ Brown. Like I would put if Waddle had that job, like had that room to himself in that Mike McDaniel offense, I would put him right in that kind of right at the back end of that group. I think he would kind of fit in right next to AJ Brown. I think he's well within the top 10.
I think I actually have to put him over Garrett Wilson if he was, just because like he's familiar with that offense. There's just been so much struggle with the Jets offensively, and obviously Aaron Rodgers is a huge band-aid to that offense. But like we know that Mike McDaniel is gonna produce offensively for years to come. So I think that I would actually take Jaylen Waddle over Garrett Wilson if Tyreek Hill wasn't on that roster.
It's like McDaniels, and the thing that makes him really good for fantasy is he's really good at scheming these guys open, getting them free releases, putting them in motion, getting them, free run into the defense. So yeah, he's extremely fantasy friendly coach, so, which makes him. It would just put him in a much better situation than Garrett Wilson is in, even Drake London is in. So yeah, I think depending on where you want to put the rookies, Harrison and Neighbors, I think he would probably be easily a top 7, 8 kind of guy.
So if your biggest takeaway from this DJ Moore episode is you should definitely go out and try to get some Jaylen Waddle at this current price. That's why I want all 51 of you currently watching. I want you to say, we're going to go out and get Jaylen Waddle.
Yes. Yeah. I am in complete agreement with both of you. Look at us all in consensus for once here. That's great.
It's a kumbaya moment.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks, JB, for the question here. So, getting back to the DJ Moore chat here, who is going on sleeper right below DJ Moore?
All right. So now things get a little more interesting, in my opinion. So we got Zay Flowers at wide receiver 20, DK Metcalf at wide receiver 21, Tank Dell at wide receiver 22, T. Higgins at wide receiver 23, and Stephon Diggs at wide receiver 24. Who wants to start it? Because this is where things get good.
Man, like I said, I would kind of want even exposure with Moore and Metcalf because I think they're pretty similar. Like Tank Dell, I think I would still rather have DJ Moore. So if it like that becomes a team context situation. If I'm not contending, if I'm building, then I would rather have Tank Dell because of the age. If I'm contending, I'd rather have DJ Moore. Probably sit through with Flowers. I think I would rather have, as a long-term asset, I think I'd rather have Flowers. If I'm contending this year, I'd rather have DJ Moore.
Yeah, I'll hop in here. I think I would I would take all these players except for Stephon Diggs over DJ Moore at this point. T. Higgins, I'm assuming he's going to end up on another team next year, which in theory he should be the wide receiver one on that squad. I'm assuming a team is going to overpay to get him. I like Zay Flowers. He's young. DK Metcalf. You got the youth. Tank Dell. Love him. Diggs is kind of the outlier here with the age. So he's the one that I would stay away from.
This is where things get really tricky for me, because I'm going to say a hot take. Don't hold me to it, because it's probably going to be wrong for sure. But Zay Flowers, like, some people are going to be like, well, why would anyone want Zay Flowers over DJ Moore? Like, especially with Derrick Henry being there, we know it's a running offense, whatever. But what you don't realize is that if they crowd the box because they're going to stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, that opens up the secondary, and that Zay Flowers is going to get open.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I wouldn't be surprised. Here's my hot take. I wouldn't be surprised if Zay Flowers finishes as a wide receiver one in like at least 4 weeks this year.
Ooh,
like,
I like that. I do.
Like,
I like that.
It's so realistic, like, especially with someone like, when you see talented players in offenses and situations where they can just pop, like Christian Watson, that if he just goes off, like, he could literally be like a wide receiver one, like, for like 2 or 3 weeks of the year. I think that's Zay Flowers, and that he could be someone that just from like those weeks alone could really be raising his ADP and could win you some weeks if you need him. So that's my Zay Flowers rant for the night. There you go. And to me, it's very similar to like Tank Dell. Like, Tank Dell is going to be Caleb Williams' guy, and that he's going to be fantasy relevant. But this is also DJ Moore as a wide receiver one in a Caleb Williams offense. So we could go into like the 12 formation and the 13 formation and like 13 personnel and everything, and like how utilized these players are going to be on the field in the Bears offense. But that's more of a Odunze, Keenan Allen question. That's not even DJ Moore. Like, you have to ask that question with Tank Dell a little bit more, with Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins, how often Tank Dell is going to be on the field. He's going to be on the field very often, but you don't have that question like you do with DJ Moore. DJ Moore is going to be the alpha one right off the bat. So same thing with Stephon Diggs. So I'm higher on DJ Moore than a few in this tier. Wouldn't take T. Higgins over DJ Moore. Wouldn't take Stephon Diggs. Wouldn't take Tank Dell. And it's really a toss-up between my shares between Zay Flowers, Metcalf, and DJ Moore.
Here's my hot take. What if Odunze is just the best receiver on that team?
I'm not gonna discredit that at all. It's probably true. And that's why now I'm gonna get hot and heated because we're talking about Odunze. Why can people not realize that Rome Odunze can step on the field and be that player? Like, if you wanted a player to go to the Chargers to replace Keenan Allen at 5, and you were like talking yourself into like Rome Odunze and Malik Neighbors and hoping that Marvin Harrison slides to you, even though it probably wasn't going to happen. Like, if that's the guy that you think can take over for Keenan Allen, and deep down in your heart that wide receivers progress on new teams, like, especially at this age, post 30, like, that after 27, the age just drops and drops and drops. And Keenan Allen is coming off of a career high in targets. So if that Rome Odunze style player is on a team with Keenan Allen still, there's no reason to not think that Rome Odunze is going to at least be the wide receiver 2 in that offense, fantasy-wise, at the end of the season. But there's also reason to believe, like, he genuinely, that relationship, that if it gets built and the sky's the limit, like, they literally could lock in and go off for like 1,200. I wouldn't even be surprised. So I don't think that that's crazy at all.
If you think about it, like, like Odunze was what, the 8th or 9th pick in the draft? He was a top 10 pick, whatever he was. I think it was 9th overall. Right. Keenan Allen was a 4th rounder. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, but he's literally the oldest non-quarterback fantasy relevant player not dating Taylor Swift in the NFL. So, I mean, the age cliff is there. I mean, he can see it no matter whether he hits it or not. Injuries have been a problem the last couple of years. DJ Moore is 27. He was a top 25-ish pick in 2018. So, I mean, Odunze just has the best prospect profile of any of these 3 main receivers that they have. And like you said, there's a very real chance that he's the one who develops chemistry with Caleb Williams because, they both came from the West Coast, yada, yada, yada. So I think there's a real case to be made that he ends up being the wide receiver 1 on this team.
You should have seen him at the draft. They were like 2 peas in a pod. Like, I saw it. It was so cool. Like when we were at the Special Olympics event, like Caleb Williams is a dog, Rome Odunze as a dog. Both of those guys, like, those are the 2 guys that I walked away from that weekend being like, those are 2 true leaders. And the fact that they're on the same team, like, I can't say anything than praise about these 2 and what their relationship could be. So, yeah, that's not crazy at all. I mean, we're not going to knock Keenan Allen. That's not what we're going to do. I mean, he's still like a Hall of Fame player, but we also, and it's not targets, it's receptions. So he's coming off a career high in receptions, which obviously makes more sense, like, to why he would regress. Because if you're going into an offense with Shane Waldron and he's focusing these tight ends and multiple tight end sets, and there's only like 2 wide receivers, 1 wide receiver sets like out there, when you have someone like Keenan Allen that's like being utilized all year last year, think about like how it is for running backs in like trying to get into rhythm, and like that's how they stay so good, is that they're in rhythm. And if he's not getting the ball for 2 quarters and he gets a catch, like how good do you think that he's going to be in those pivotal moments? Like, I don't know. Like, I think that it's going to be really hard for Keenan Allen to come off of what he was last year and still produce at like a high level. Like, is he probably going to be good as a flex player? Sure. Like, he's probably could hit a lot of weeks, and I could be wrong about that. He could also have some duds like I'm talking about, and that could definitely like drop your team, drop your team that way. So I'm just really worried about Keenan Allen. That's my rant for the night about it. But Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, those are like 2 guys. Like, they're locks. Like, Keenan Allen's the only question mark in my opinion.
Yeah, and just one final thought here before we actually get into some of these trades here. You would hope with rational coaching and rational GM drafting that taking Odunze so high that they actually had a plan for him in place to actually use him, considering, they could have bolstered their offensive line, that, probably could have drafted outstanding defensive player, but the fact that they used that high draft capital on a wide receiver when they already had DJ Moore and Keenan Allen just speaks volumes about what their intent is and what their plan is. So, all right, let's move on to some trades though here. This is a trade focused podcast. So, first, you go ahead, Hoov. Take it away.
All right. So, first one we got up, we have trade number 1. Oh, let's pull that way. Trade number 1, team 1 gets Christian McCaffrey, and team 2 gets De'Von Achane and DJ Moore. So I believe that all these questions have DJ Moore in them. So let me know. Christian McCaffrey, let's go full PPR as well, just to make it simple.
I mean, I'll jump in here first. I think if we're talking Dynasty, I would take Achane and Moore. I love Christian McCaffrey. He's going to ball out this year for sure, but he's seen a big workload, and that just makes me a little bit nervous. I know last year he stayed healthy, but we did see him a couple years in a row there with some injuries. So time is not on his side, as outstanding of an athlete as he is. Give me the team 2 side on this one.
Sure.
If you're trying to move McCaffrey, this is as good a deal as you're going to get. That said, Man, I like Achane a lot. So, yeah, I'm going to agree with Dusty here. I think I would have to lean team 2. And unless if I was like a super stacked team and was just trying to consolidate, that's the only way that I would take the McCaffrey side. I think there's just too much value on that second side.
For me, it's a like CMC. I view this as like trade picks, as like draft picks. CMC is worth 2 firsts still, in my opinion. Questionable 3 just with age, 2 confidently. And De'Von Achane is like a first and a second. DJ Moore is like a first and a second. So when you add all those picks up, even though I don't love not having CMC on my roster, like the value obviously leans Achane and DJ Moore. It'd be a tough one to do, but I think I'd have to lean Achane and Moore as well in this one.
Oh, love that consensus.
All right, we got another one. So team 1 gets DJ Moore and Kenneth Walker. Team 2 gets Zay Flowers and Travis Etienne.
Joel, why don't you start us off with this one?
Yeah, since you love Travis Etienne so much.
Yeah, I'm gonna say. I guess I would look at like if somebody sent me this offer, I would say, what's the point? But if I have to make a pick in a vacuum, it's Moore and Walker.
Dustin.
Oh, yeah, this one's tough. I mean, it, as you said, Joel, it's pretty similar. I think I would probably lean the other side though, just by a hair. You're getting a little bit of youth back with Zay Flowers and Etienne. I'm all in on for this year, for the next couple years. So I just don't know what to expect with this Seahawks team with the new coaching staff there. I know Pete Carroll loved to run the ball, but he's gone now. So is it going to be a little bit more pass heavy there on that offense? And Kenneth Walker maybe sees a little bit of reduction. Does Charbonnet take a step forward? Do they use more of a split backfield there? I think there's just more questions with that Seahawks backfield. So that's why I lean the Zay Flowers Etienne side.
Yeah, I'm going to go Zay Flowers.
Real quick. Oh, just real quick. Sorry.
You're good.
If somebody sent me this offer, like if you look at this offer, it's a receiver and a running back for a receiver and a running back, both in the same tier, right? So it's very even trade. So if somebody sends me this, they obviously want one of the players on the side that I'm giving up. So I'm going to say, yeah, I'm fine, but I need more to make me want to do this deal. So obviously you want to make this deal happen. So you give me a kicker. You give me something to make this deal happen, because it's so, like I said, what's the point? It's just a player preference deal, and you're flipping coins on both sides of the deal.
I don't think so. I mean, like it depends on how you feel about like Kenneth Walker and Travis Etienne. To me, it's like Kenneth Walker is probably like the RB13 in my opinion, which is like the highest RB2 that you can possibly get in leagues. So, like it's a solid RB1 and top 5 for me versus like questionable with a questionable top like RB1, but confident RB2. And then you're getting like DJ Moore coming off as wide receiver 6, and you're probably holding on to most of that value trying to trade him for like the youth of Zay Flowers and to get that upside of Travis Etienne. And so like there's so much value with the DJ Moore side that even though like I'm still in on him, you are definitely capitalizing on his season last year in this trade. And I would be targeting team 2 100%.
Say, as long as we're talking ETN here, question in the chat coming from Jamie again. Looking as a team to get Waddle, do you think ETN for Waddle straight up is a fair offer? I have Bijan and Gibbs, so I can afford to lose ETN.
All right, I'm going to be a hypocrite. I'm going to say you're losing value there just because there's just so many little amount of running backs out there that are so like fantasy relevant, unless you want to play the 0 RB game, and that's just a dangerous game to play. But there's not many Travis Etiennes out there. Like for what Jaylen Waddle could be when Tyreek Hill is there, obviously, like you're buying him at a low cost. I think you could really get like Waddle in a second for Etienne just because of the running back market right now. So I would try to get more from Etienne if I was going to trade him, but that's just me.
Yeah, and just a little follow-up context here. I have Marvin, but my other wide receivers are Godwin and Reed. If that changes the formula at all for you.
I am 180 degrees diametrically opposed to Hoov here, and that I would give the second on top of Etienne to make this deal happen. I think it's a reasonable offer to make, especially if they need a running back and are strong at receiver. But I can't imagine that deal gets done if you just offer Etienne for Waddle straight up. So if you need to make a kicker, I would do it. I'm making that deal 1,000 times out of 1,000.
What is a kicker going to do? You saying like throw a kicker on it?
No.
A trade kicker.
Okay.
Put it over the
kick
top.
in extra.
I'm not throwing in Justin Tucker.
A little cherry on top.
I was gonna be like, what's next? Are we doing compliments too? I've done that. Me and compliments. He said, I'll do the trade, but you have to be nice tomorrow to someone. And I'm like, done. Thank you.
That's awesome.
It was a stupid ass trade too. It was like I was getting like Hunter Renfrow or something like that. I was like, sure, I'll be nice for Hunter Renfrow.
So Jamie, send the offer if he wants something else. I'm on top of Etienne. I'm more than happy to give to make that deal happen.
Yeah, Hoov, I see what you're saying here, but considering their strength there with Bijan and Gibbs, I think even if you do value running backs that much more, I think getting someone that's young and Waddle that we've seen produce, I think shoring up your wide receiver core with him and being going to be your wide receiver 2 on your team, I think that's a good move.
This is where adding a third team comes in handy, in that you can get different assets, to make sure that you're getting the maximum that you should get. That's why when you only do like 2-team trades, there's like, well, I don't have that. It's like, all right, find it then. That's kind of the mentality. Like, you can always add more teams to find the right trades. It's just harder when you add another team to get everyone in unison, and agree on that. So that's what I always suggest. If you really can't find the difference because he doesn't want to pay up for a running back in a running back needy market, go find it. It's out there. I promise you, someone needs a running back bad enough that they'll pay up for it. So.
All right. Thank you, Jamie, again for the question in the chat. That's awesome.
Yes,
what's next, Hoov?
All right. So we got another one. We're going after a big dog. We got Jamar Chase, team 1, trading away for DJ Moore, a 2025 first and a 2026 second. The team also has Caleb Williams for the sack.
I would take Jamar Chase. He is elite. He's a stud. It's going to take multiple firsts. DJ Moore, I don't know. I just give me Chase. Give me the one elite asset in the trade, regardless of the stack or not.
Are you saying DJ Moore is not elite?
I didn't say that.
You did. You said he's the only one that's elite.
Joel,
okay. How about
he's
this?
Not elite. Yes,
he's
pull
not
Dustin's foot out of his mouth real quick.
He is not in the same tier as Jamar Chase. How about that?
That's better. That's all right. We'll go with that. That's so much better. Joel,
this one's not close. This is not close for me. I don't care about the stack. I don't care about the 25 first or the 26 second. That's a complete zero. Jamar Chase is worth at least 3 firsts. So yeah, this is chased by a mile.
I like the question. I like the trade being discussed because I think it brings up a really good point for stacking, is that don't give up elite assets just for the stack. When you're giving up someone like Jamar Chase, that 2025 first becomes a late first. When that 2026 second becomes a late second. So no matter what, you're really hoping that DJ Moore just holds on to that top 10. And I think it could happen. It really could. You're just really kind of hoping that Rome Odunze holds off another year. And we all discussed, Rome Odunze could step in and be the wide receiver 1 right off the bat. We also know DJ Moore, he has that pathway to repeat as well. So you're really hoping for the most with DJ Moore to even out this deal. And so don't give up elite assets to do that, even for a stack. So I'm glad it was brought up, but it's hard to give up Jamar Chase in this.
Yep.
All right,
And
we got another.
Real quick, I don't care about stacking in Dynasty. I don't care at all. I will use it as leverage in trade negotiations. I'll say, okay, here, this gives you a stack, or I'll pretend I care about it. I don't. Like, things change too much. So I don't care about stack. DJ Moore, his contract is over after next year. So he may not be a Bear. He's got no guaranteed money next year. He may not be a Bear next year. You never know. So, maybe a stack point this year may not be anything next year. So if you value stacks, I mean, that's fine. I don't care about it, but just be careful with that, because things change too fast in this league.
Yep, that's a very good point too.
Yep.
All right, next one. Team 1 gets Nico Collins and a 2025 second. Team 2 gets DJ Moore and a 2025 first. So you're moving from a second rounder to a first rounder for the age difference. What side are you leaning?
Go ahead, Joel.
I love this trade. I think it's a perfect trade. I think this is a really good structured trade. I prefer Nico, but I think they're close enough to where I would have to take the side with the first. But yeah, really, really well structured trade.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great trade. I would take the Nico side just because I prefer Nico Collins here, but that's just my personal preference. I think you could take either side and walk away happy with this.
If you're a young team, for me, and you're looking at the Nico Collins second side, and you're like, all right, I think that this is like the wide receiver 2, that I need to put my team over. That could be like the final piece for a long time. And so I understand why you'd want to target that. If you're a team that's going after DJ Moore in the 2025 first because you're also getting the first, which I think that I might have to lean just more consensusly amongst like all types of roster builds, I think that more roster builds would favor the DJ Moore in 2025 first side. But to those people, I'd add on top of it, like, go find another guy that likes DJ Moore then, and then add to that. Because like I alluded to earlier, I think that he's very close to a first and a second right now for his value. And you could be looking at like 2 firsts and a second right now for Nico Collins in a second. So is Nico Collins worth 2 firsts right now? That's to each their own, but to me, probably not. I'm probably not. So I think that I'd probably lean DJ Moore in the first, just from like that close amount of value.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to add?
No,
I think we hit
another big one.
Yeah.
All right. Team 1 gets Cooper Kupp, DeAndre Swift, and a 2025 second. Team 2 gets DJ Moore, David Montgomery, and a 2025 third.
I'll start this one. I'll take the Team 1 side here with Kupp and Swift, especially in the short term here. I think Kupp still has juice left in the tank. I think with the injuries last year and the emergence of Puka, it really just deflated his value. He's still going to be super valuable, even if he is a wide receiver 2. Like, he's going to be a high-end wide receiver 2. So that would be the reasoning for me to take Team 1 side here.
Yeah, I'll give a slight lean to Team 1. Like, I would wash Montgomery and Swift. I think they're pretty equal in dynasty value. So it's Kupp in a second for DJ Moore in a third. Yeah, I think Kupp and DJ Moore are close enough, especially this year, that I would just rather have the side with the second.
Yeah, to me, it's like the 2025 second and Montgomery right now. If you're going to buy Montgomery, you're probably going to have to go up a 2 to get him. So those kind of wash right there. And so the Moore in a third versus Kupp and Swift. And yeah, I'd probably want to hold on to Kupp's value and Swift's value. I think that Swift could be extremely valuable the first half of the season. And then once they I feel like they're going to point the finger at Shane Waldron if things start messy. And so by the time that Shane Waldron's either out the door, or they give the reins to someone else, that someone like Roshan Johnson or even Khalil Herbert, if he's still on the roster, could emerge and be relevant in that role as well. So I think that Swift's going to have a lot of value this year. I think Kupp's going to hold on to a lot of value this year, and DJ Moore, as great a value as he could be, Kupp's not that far off, like Dustin was alluding to. So I think I'm going to go with Kupp, Swift in the second, just because like the second is very safe. It's very safe to always hold on to that upgrade, move from a third to a second with this deal. So yeah, I'm with team one. All right. I feel like this is where things get a little more difficult for me. Team one gets Rashee Rice in the 206, and team two gets DJ Moore. We got to also factor in that he's not coming. He doesn't have a suspension this year, but there is that possibility of him having some kind of suspension next year. Once everything gets like fixed or figured out. So we also should factor that in as well with this trade.
Go ahead, Joel. Start this one off.
I'm just going to take the side with the second. I think Rashee Rice is young enough that his value is only he's on the Chiefs. I'm not worried about a significant suspension. I think he'll probably get one. It's probably like 3 games, something like that. I don't think it's major. So yeah, I'm just going to take the side on this with the second either way.
Mm-hmm. Same. I'll take that side as well. Rice is younger. You're basically buying the dip right now with the suspension. So if anything, he doesn't get suspended. He pops off a few weeks. You could probably trade him away for a lot more than what DJ Moore would be worth in season. So give me that side just for the value alone.
All right. I'm going to rebuttal with a question just because I did trade Rashee Rice this offseason around draft time, and I got 2 seconds for him, I believe. Yes. And so one of those picks was Adonai Mitchell, who I think could be very similar to Rashee Rice, and emerge and be extremely valuable later on in the road. But I tried getting Rashee Rice for the 201, and they didn't want to give it to me. So I ended up having to go after a different deal and get 2 later seconds. But when you realize that some people are like, oh yeah, he's worth a first, he's not, at least in the league that I tried trading him in. So it's not consensus that he's worth a first. And so more than likely, you're probably still getting 2 seconds for him. So it's 3 seconds in this deal for DJ Moore. Does that change your opinion at all? Would you rather have 3 seconds or DJ Moore?
If the deal was 3 seconds, I would rather have DJ Moore. This deal is Rashee Rice. And with Rashee Rice, you're buying into the Kansas City offense. You're buying into a Patrick Mahomes offense. So I don't think you can kind of make – I think it's a fair equivalent, but I don't know that it's a fair like algebraic comparison. So, yeah, if it were 3 seconds, I would rather have DJ Moore. But because it's Rashee – I think Rashee Rice is worth more than 2 seconds. So I would rather have Rice and the additional second.
Dustin, to change your
Not really. I mean, it also at that point becomes if you're kind of rebuilding or contending to. I mean, if I'm rebuilding, give me the seconds. I'd take 3 seconds all day on a rebuilding squad rather than DJ Moore. But if I feel like I'm a playoff team, possibly contending, give me DJ Moore.
Because I agree with the fact that Rashee Rice plays the most Patrick Mahomes style offense. And so he's probably going to still be the wide receiver 1. Does that justify, DJ Moore from what he could do? I don't know. I'm really close on this. I guess I'd probably lean Rashee Rice just because that second on top of it. It's very close. Very, very close.
I mean, would you trade the way I would look at this is would you
I wouldn't give up.
Would you rather have the 109 or the 112 and the 206?
You said the 109 or the 112?
If you say DJ Moore is probably worth around the 109, I would say, and Rashee Rice is probably worth around the 112. Would you rather have the 109 or the 112 and the 206?
That depends on the draft class. Like for me, if it was this year, 109, confident. I'd rather have Jonathan Brooks than Trey Benson and I'm trying to think who would win at 206. Like
I'm going to say, would you have a random 109 or a random 112 and 206?
I guess more assets is always more valuable in that sense. So like the 112 and the 206, but it really comes down to draft class. And that's where like some people are getting rid of their 2025 firsts and seconds because they already know it's 2026, baby, is when things are really going to get hot and heavy. So this is really close. This is really close.
I guess. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on.
Yeah. All right.
We could talk that all day.
We could. That's a really close one. All right. Team 1, we got DJ Moore. And team 2, my guy, Jackson Smith the Jigba in a 2025 second.
This is a good trade too, but give me team 2. I'll just keep it short.
Yeah, I think the value is on team 2. If I was competing, I would rather have team 1. But I think
that's not a fair argument.
Why not?
I said that's not a fair, like that's not, or that is a good argument, I would say. But I'm not going to argue with you on it because I'm big on DJ Moore in, compared to value. And Jackson Smith and Jigba, I'm huge on compared to value as well. So I like either side. It is very like, are you contending or not? But I also think that Jackson Smith and Jigba could help you compete this year. Is he going to help you compete up to DJ Moore level? I don't think so. So the value holds on the JSN side way too much for me to turn it down. I believe that Matt Jester actually pulled off this trade and got DJ Moore. So that was inspired by him. So obviously you're seeing it from both perspectives. Like there are some people that think DJ Moore is just head and shoulders above what JSN's going to do with like DK Metcalf as a wide receiver 1 in that offense. So wide receiver 2 with extreme upside in a second versus someone that just is coming off of a wide receiver 6 season. So very close. I like both sides. Can't argue with it.
All right.
Moving on?
Any more? Yeah, moving on.
All right. We got a few more. We'll do rapid fire real quick. We'll go around. We'll go Joel, Dustin, myself for the last 4. All right?
All right, let's do it.
All right, team 1, we got DJ Moore in the 2025 second. Team 2 gets Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Very rapid fire.
Sorry, I'm going to lean team 2 just because I like Polk and Baker both. Man, but they're both on the same team. Yeah, that's a tough trail. I think I got to take the DJ Moore side. I just got to take the known. I got to take the known asset.
Woo! Woo!
Yeah,
Dustin.
I think that if you're contending, it's definitely team 1, and if you're rebuilding, it's a team 2 side. But I think I would lean the DJ Moore side on this just slightly.
I think that doesn't make sense when you factor in the pick, but I think team 2 is going to produce at such a high level this season alone, their rookie Jalen Polk's rookie season and JSN sophomore season, that team 2 I would have to smash accept because I'm getting Polk and Baker as well, and that no matter who pops off with Drake May, I know I'm getting one of the 2. It could be Demario Douglas, but chances are very, very unlikely compared to what Polk and Baker can do. So I'm team 2 100%. All right. So what was that? 2-1 split?
Mm-hmm. I think, just real quick, I know we want to do rapid fire, but I think you got to have some humility when you make this deal because I like Polk, I like Baker both, but there's a real chance that both of those guys are zeros. And
100%.
I don't see a world like you got to thread a lot of needles to have JSN be more productive than DJ Moore this year. So yeah, I think he's the one asset that I can count on. So that's why I would lean that side.
Not more. Like I'm saying, like JSN hits 1,000 yards this season. That's my bet. I feel confident about that. I still feel like DJ Moore hits 1,000 yards as well, But like Jalen Polk is someone that I expect 700 or more. Like
I like them both. I like
Right.
both those guys, but like that's gonna be a bad offense.
Yeah.
Even if
So
they're the best part of it.
I don't know. I think Polk's going to be really valuable this year. So it tips that JSN DJ Moore difference for me. So yeah, I'm definitely team 2. All right. Next one. Team 1 gets Chris Olave in a 2025 third. Team 2 gets DJ Moore a 2025 first. We'll go opposite. We'll go Dustin first.
Okay.
I'll take team 1 at this. Give me Olave. He is the highest valued asset in this trade. I'll take him.
I think I agree. I think Olave is I think he's a tier above DJ Moore, and I think I would pay the first to go from Moore to Olave.
I understand the value of Chris Olave is a first. I still am not giving up a first. I don't want Chris Olave on my roster. I don't want to put that much faith in Chris Olave to target him. So I have to go with, in my opinion, I know the 2025 first is at least value to what Chris Olave is, in my opinion. And then DJ Moore is a first and a second. So like it's way too much for team 2 for me to turn that one away. Next one, we got team 1 getting DJ Moore and team 2 getting Tyjae Spears and a 2026 second. It's 14-teamer. And that one was brought to you by our own Dustin Lundt.
Yeah, so I threw this out in one of my leagues this afternoon, just trying to get trade content for the show. So I'll remove myself from this conversation and let you guys tell me if I'm on par here, this is a fair trade, or if I'm way off base.
All right, I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I'll go first because you've gotten to go first plenty of times. I'll give you a second to breathe and recapture your thoughts. For me, like I've said multiple times, I view DJ Moore as like a first and a second, and so the second counters it out. Is Tyjae Spears worth a first? In a 14-teamer, obviously, like the extra 2 picks that would go into the second round are added to the first round. So if you're a winning team, that's basically a second rounder, like for a first round pick. So Tyjae Spears, to me, no matter what the format is, he's not worth a first, even in a 14-team league. Even if it was the 114, I couldn't talk myself into doing it. I'd want 2 seconds confidently for Tyjae Spears. I think Tyjae Spears is the most explosive running back on that team, and he's probably going to outproduce Tony Pollard this season alone. But there's nothing holding the Titans to Tyjae Spears long term, even if he produces. If he produces, they're probably going to cut Tony Pollard and then invest in the position heavily in 2025 when there's a boatload of running back coming in. So Tyjae Spears is a dynasty asset, worries me a lot. I think that he's going to be very productive this season alone, but after that, very big question mark. So I'm holding on to DJ Moore.
All right, Joel.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think this is that close. Like getting the extra asset in a 14-teamer is nice, but like Hoov said, in a 14, if that's a back end second, that's essentially like an early third. It's in 26. It's not even next year. You got to wait the extra year for it. Tyjae Spears is not worth the first. I mean, I traded him straight up for a 208 or something like that in one of my leagues. So yeah, I think this is pretty easily DJ Moore.
All right. Well, I think that we got it. We have just wrapped over an hour. So I figured that, with us talking so much about our partners over at Dynasty Nerds, I should tell you guys all about them. So do you want to take your Dynasty teams to a championship? Do you want to stack championships for years to come? Then you need to hear all about Club Fantasy's newest partnership, Dynasty Nerds. Dynasty Nerds is one of the most trusted sources for both Dynasty advice and Dynasty tools. Their Nerd Score helps identify rookies with high ceilings and longevity to keep you in contention for years. If what you're looking for is film on incoming rookies, then look no further than their All-22 film room. They even have a Dynasty trade calculator that can help you find values throughout the season and better understand how to value players across an ever-changing landscape. And these are just a few of the tools that they offer. Just head to dynastynerds.com to see for yourself. choose from one of their subscription plans, and at checkout, enter code Club Fantasy to save 15% off your subscription. Once again, go to dynastynerds.com and use promo code Club Fantasy to get 15% off.
All right. Thanks, Hoov, for that. Yeah, definitely go check them out. I know we had a couple of non-DJ Moore trades on the docket here, but I think we can push those to next week. But before we head out for this evening, I do want to say thank you to everybody that was watching this evening. Thanks to Jamie in the chat for supplying us with some questions. Please be sure. Love that, Jamie. Thanks to you for becoming part of supporting our sponsor, the Dynasty Nerds. Come join us every single week. You can be like Jamie, ask your questions in the chat. We'll answer them right here live for you. Get your answers right away. You don't have to wait for mailbags or DMs or anything like that. We'll answer right here, right now. We'll drop everything in our show to answer your questions. That's what we're here for. Just for you. That's right.
We love you.
We love everyone. Just want to say, make sure you follow all of us here at HoovTube. You can follow Hoov, Joel at the Joel Wirth, myself at FF Dusty Dog, and make sure you follow and subscribe to all of Club Fantasy's great shows, Club Fantasy FL and the Women of Fantasy Football, Women of _FF, and make sure you're following and watching all of the Club Fantasy shows. Mondays, we've got Mocking with the Stars. On Tuesday, we've got the Masterclass. On Wednesday mornings, we've got Who's Your Caddy, which is a golf DFS show. On Wednesday nights, we've got the flagship show of Club Fantasy of No Punt Intended. On Thursday, you've got us TradeBlocked, but also you've got the Mock Girl Summer. On Saturdays, Mock It Like It's Hot. And on Sunday, the Dynasty After Party. 7 days of just fantasy football content that you just would be foolish to miss out on. So make sure you're checking out all the great shows that we have. It's a lot of fun. Any final thoughts here before we sign off for the evening, gentlemen?
Yes, I got one thing to add. So if you guys don't want to stop the party and you want more HoovTube content, you want more fantasy football talk, you guys can go ahead. I have a new interview. I was with Kevin Murray. We broke it down. We talked a lot about the Expo and everything fantasy football related with my history of making content. So if you guys want to go ahead, listen to that interview, go ahead and check out Kevin Murray. Go ahead and check that out. So you guys can check that out on my timeline as well.
Great stuff.
Mm-hmm. Joel, anything else you'd like to add before we sign off this evening?
The Dynasty After Party Sunday morning at 11. We'll be talking Packers this week. So everybody's
definitely got
about that.
Definitely got to check in for that one. That's going to be a hot one.
I'm gonna have to get some water, and this may take a while.
Yes, definitely go check that one out. That will be probably the show of the off season to watch. Let's be honest,
without question.
Absolutely.
All right, well, gentlemen, it was a great show. Thank you for all the great conversation. I think we did a good job here discussing DJ Moore. As always, hit us up in any of our DMs if you want to ask any questions after the show. We're here for it. We'll bring it up on next week's show just as a follow-up. I think that was a great thing we did there, Joel. So until next week, everyone, keep making those trades.